Cagney Steakhouse is the steakhouse on the Norwegian Aqua. It's in a new location across from the Metropolitan Bar. It's a specialty restaurant with an extra charge of $60 per person, or you can use one of your free at sea vouchers. Inside, it's bright and colorful, more of a modern vibe than the traditional steakhouse look some of the older ships have. Bread service is a rosemary loaf of bread, and very exciting news, it was not stale. If you've watched my other dining videos from this cruise, you know we have struggled with stale bread. For the appetizers, you can choose from a crab cake, shrimp trio, thick cut bacon, or a lobster bisque. Now, note it says roasted lobster morsels. We'll come back to that. You also have a choice of baked onion soup, an iceberg wedge, or a Caesar salad. I opted for the grilled thick cut bacon. I think other menus would probably describe this as a pork belly. It was perfectly cooked, nice and crispy. The fat was well rendered. The one mystery on the plate was this so-called steak sauce. It tasted like cocktail sauce. There was not enough Worcestershire or umami flavor in there. That was definitely a pass. Overall, though, I would absolutely order the dish again. I do think they need to work on the sauce because a little acidic sauce would be a great complement to the bacon, but this was not it. This is the crab cake. The crab cake sat on a bed of tartar sauce, which was an odd choice for a crab cake. Overall, the crab cake was really good. The meat to filling ratio was very good. I mean, sometimes you get crab cakes that are more breadcrumbs than crab. Not the case here, but it could have been a little more crispy. We would still order it again. Up next was the Lobster Bisque. This was one of the better lobster bisques I've had in recent years. It had a really good lobster flavor. I think sometimes lobster bisques can have a general seafood flavor or too much of a tomato flavor, but this hit the exact right balance. But one thing I didn't find in this soup was a lobster morsel. I think if you're going to promise that there are lobster morsels in the soup, you have to do the thing where you bring out a bowl with the lobster in it and then pour the soup over it. But overall, I would definitely order this lobster bisque again. I think it was the better of the two soup options. The opposing soup option was the baked onion soup. This tasted very similarly to the baked onion soup at the French restaurant. It still has more of a beef flavor than an onion flavor, but my husband said he would absolutely order it again if you were looking for an onion soup. For dinner in the steak selection, you had an option between a ribeye, a petite filet, a regular filet, and a New York strip steak. They have a number of different sauces available. I would skip the peppercorn sauce and the homemade steak sauce. Those were not good, but the béarnaise was excellent. And next time I would probably try the chimichurri. The other selections are prime rib, surf and turf for an additional charge, or a lamb chop. You could also get grilled fisherman's platter, a jumbo shrimp skewer, or add a lobster tail to any entree for an additional $25. And they make a big show about bringing out this knife thing where you can choose your knife, though we were joking, like, why do we need such a sharp knife for filet? Well, we learned why in just a few minutes. So this is the filet. It just comes out as the meat, so you add the sides on, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Mine came out the right temperature. It was still warm to touch. It had a nice crust on it. I would have liked a little more seasoning. I like things like a little more salty when it comes to the beef, and a couple pieces were a little chewy, but overall, very good. Now to the sides, which is my favorite part of a steakhouse meal: baked potato, mashed potato, fries, risotto, mushrooms, spinach, or steamed broccoli. And we tried most of them. So up first was the mushrooms. These were a perfect accompaniment to the steaks. If you like mushrooms, definitely order this as one of your sides. The screamed spinach delivered. It was the steakhouse standard with a great creamy sauce. The spinach was perfectly cooked. I loved the side. I also really like the truffled mashed potatoes. Now, these do have truffle flavor. So if you don't like that kind of mushroomy truffle flavor, you may want to ask for something different, but we really liked it. The steamed broccoli was a hit. It was perfectly cooked and perfectly seasoned. It was nice to have a vegetable. We haven't had a lot of vegetables if you've been following along the meal. I decided to try the barley risotto. This was a pass. I think it could be a really good dish, but they just haven't nailed the sauce yet. It should be a little bit creamier, a little bit saucier. For dessert, you could have raspberry creme brulee, the seven-layer chocolate cake, the apple pie, or the caramel butterscotch cheesecake. We had to try the 7-layer chocolate cake. This was very fudgy, very rich, definitely more fudge, as you can see from the layers of icing, than cake. And then I had the apple pie with very good vanilla ice cream. I love how it was like in a nice flaky pastry, and the apples were a little tart, so very good. Overall, I'm going to give it an 8.9 out of 10, only because I want to designate that I liked Onda from last night a little bit better than this experience. It is important to note that the windows in this restaurant don't see out. You just see part of the deck, so you do not have to worry about timing a sunset reservation here. If you do want to book it, reservations are highly recommended. This is one of the most popular restaurants on board. And here's just a reminder of the dress code. Hopefully you've been enjoying this series where I review all of the specialty restaurants where we ate on the Norwegian Aqua. Here's more videos you might enjoy.